This is Doug with the Practicing Accountant Podcast. Thank you very much for joining us today. Our episode today covers the power of niching and how it can help transform your business. We hope you enjoy it. I have an email to share.
Shoot.
I just pulled up. I'll remove names for sake of confidentiality for my own self and for this individual. Hi, Doug. I did a Google search for accounting firm coaches and was pleased to see there was one local to me. I live in blank. I'm currently looking for a coach because although I have a successful practice, I am constantly daydreaming of the life I do not currently lead. One where I'm only working on my business, not in it, and I'm wondering if you can help me get to the next level. Thanks. Look forward to connecting. So I got that email exactly a week ago.
Nice.
And on Monday, I talked to this individual, and I won't say it's a done deal, but it's pretty close to being done, and this should be a new client by the end of the week.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks. So a couple of interesting things about it. One, the Google search.
Right.
Like this individual searched for accounting firm coaches and my name popped up. And the reason why my name popped up is because of SEO, and also because of the name of my company and because I chose a niche and have leaned into it. Another interesting thing, based on geography, they're able to see, the proximity to them and I, and that also created a little bit more of an easier accessibility to me. Not to say that I'm trying to niche into this area, but it just created that opportunity. And some other interesting things that you can't get from this email would be the conversation I had with this individual on Monday. It was easy. And what I mean by that, like I had already created credibility through my website, through the SEO, through what I do, through my niche, through my LinkedIn, whatever. Like this individual is comfortable talking to me about their situation because of the credibility I had established through the niche expertise. Second thing that you can't see from this email, but happened on Monday, when it came down to price, it wasn't a shock or a problem. Like they were totally okay with it because of the niching expertise I brought to the conversation.
Because they found the exact guy.
Right. Like they found the specialist, I guess, the expert, me, which, feels narcissistic almost to say out loud. But in some areas, I do have some expertise, and
Right.
helping, firms get through some things is one of those. So this is the power of niching. I didn't have to justify, my rate. I didn't have to justify my experience. I didn't have to sell as hard. I didn't have to search at all. This person found me entirely on their own accord. I had nothing to do with this person coming to me directly, other than putting some lures out into the lake.
Right.
And like I said, I don't want to jinx it by saying it's a sure thing or anything, but it felt like it's a pretty done deal, and we'll find out here in a day or two whether that's the truth or not. I'll report back on that. How's that?
There you go. And it's not the first.
Right? No,
you built an entire business on this.
No, this was just the one that I decided to pull up here to share from a week ago. I mean, this is just happening in real time. But I don't bring this up to brag about my capability or my credibility or my expertise, but I bring it up to make the point of niching. Like, this is what the power of niching brings. Like, for anyone listening, like what does someone search for to find you on Google? What do they type in? Do they type in tax preparer?
Yeah.
Do they type in bookkeeper? Or do they type in something a little bit more interesting, like accounting firm coach, or real estate tax expert, or bookkeeper for construction, or bookkeeping in my area, my city, my size, Like who's going to find you and how? Like what tricks are there that you've used to solicit or not solicit to generate leads that already come with credibility because you have substantiated yourself as being someone who knows their stuff and knows it well.
Yep.
Like, what about for you? Like what happened? Like, how do we Google you?
Sure. So, I'm not going to give my exact information, but because I don't want someone coming into my niche. Because we got a little honeypot. But let's use the example of construction. We hyper niche in a sub industry of construction, and we go where those people are. We go to the conferences. We are in Facebook groups. We are in every Facebook group, and we're loud in there. And everybody knows us. When someone asks for a bookkeeper, we're tagged 5 or 6 times. And there's a few other people that are tagged. We're not the only ones, but generally we're pronounced. So we went so far as to change our domain name to, instead of Dan's bookkeeping service, we are now theconstructionbookkeeper.com. Sort of. But that's
kind of.
It creates credibility. You mentioned credibility a second ago. That's something that we haven't really touched on yet, is the credibility that niching brings. If you have every industry listed on your website, you might not be as credible as someone that just says they are the construction bookkeeper or the construction tax preparer. It just creates this instant trust that you normally wouldn't have, and you don't have to convince them that you know what you're talking about. If you speak a little bit of the industry jargon and some of the nuances of that industry, you're in. They're not going to go find someone else if you're already talking their language, and price becomes not irrelevant, but much less of a concern, which gives you that pricing power.
Well, the idea in their head is, why would I look anymore?
Right.
Like I don't need to look anymore. Like I've found what I was looking for. And I don't need to go around to see if there's someone who maybe has a little bit more of what you have. They've already understood that this is where you live. This is how you spend your billable hours or time. And you know them better than anyone else they're going to be able to find.
Yep.
Now, if they find like 2 or 3 of you, maybe they'll just see who they connect with better. But it's just so much easier. The whole thing is so much easier. And what we're talking about is owning your niche. Not just having to your point, a website that's got like 10 industries you serve, and maybe 8 of them you only have 1 or 2 clients in, and the rest you've got in 1 or 2 of them. But like really owning it, like celebrating it, talking about it, putting it out there, making t-shirts about it, making it your domain, making it your expertise, talking about it, seeking it. Like when I used to go to early in my coaching career, I would go to like barbecues and stuff. They're like, what are you up to these days? I'd be like coaching and, kind of like life coaching, business coaching stuff. And they're like, oh, okay, that's cool. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I held back. And then, a couple of years into this, I started responding differently. I'm like, I'm a coach for CPAs and accountants.
Right.
And it's turned into different variations, like a CPA for the executive accountant, the CPA or the coach for the firm owner. It's evolved and become a little bit more specific. And depending on the circumstances, I do have multiple, CPA accounting, bookkeeping expertises. At one point someone encouraged me to call myself the CFO coach because I work with so many CFOs, but my real bread and butter, and by that I mean what I enjoy most, is working with the small business owner. The one that really is kind of at a disadvantage. And so that's what I own now. When people ask what I do, I coach, firm owners, small business, accounting, bookkeeping firm owners. And that's where I love to play. And that allows people that hear that, they understand completely what I do now, or at least who I do it for. They may not understand the coaching piece of it,
Sure.
but they at least understand that I'm targeting and wanting to work with firm owners. And that just makes it easier to understand. And if they ever, and I don't know how many times I've had this conversation where I've worked with someone, they're like, oh, you should totally work with my CPA. He could really use some help. Or I want to introduce you to my accountant. She really needs some support on some things. And I'm always like, how are you going to introduce that? Like, I want to see
That'll be
that.
interesting.
That'll go real well. And I've actually had it happen a couple of times, and it's been awkward. So I don't necessarily like that one so much, because you get on the
Your
phone
client
with them,
says you
like,
suck, so
you get on the phone with them, they're like, "Why am I here? What do you know that I don't know? Why did we get introduced? Is this a sales call? What's going on here?"
no.
But the point is owning your niche. Like we've talked about picking one. We're going to have a class coming out soon enough that really goes through the process. But at the end of the day, like once you have it picked, once you're comfortable that there's a market for your niche, that it's something you're passionate about, or at least an expert in, or pays well, or whatever the reason, I'm not too particular. Like you got to own it, like own the shit out of it. Like make sure everyone knows. I'm always, I see these trucks all the time. Like, you see the trucks that are like the bail bondsmen or the plumbers, or usually it's construction, and their entire truck is just like, just covered in paint and bright colors. And it says the name of their business and what they do. And I'm always just, I'm almost uncomfortable with how much they own their brand and their business by that. Like it's almost uncomfortable to see, but what the hell is wrong with that? Nothing.
Right.
Like it's lovely that they own it that strong. I mean, if you look at like the injury lawyers and how much they own their business, I mean, they promote the heck out of themselves, and you know what? They seem to be doing all right. I'm not saying I agree with their practices, but they seem to be doing pretty well. But we need to own it. We need to take that step of putting it out there, going all in on putting it out there, and really letting the world know that this is what you do, so that people can find you, and it makes the whole thing after that easier.
Yep. You mentioned something a few minutes ago, that there might be 2 or 3 other people in your niche, and that is totally okay, because now you're not competing against 1,000 tax preparers. You're competing against 2 or 3.
Yeah, odds are better.
But that's okay. You don't have to be the only one in your niche. You don't have to be.
I mean, how do you even compete against a generalist?
Yeah.
I mean, you compete against as a generalist, right? But even just how do you compete as a generalist or with a generalist? I mean, it comes down then to relationship and service, and it's going to become about who can get it done quicker and cheaper. And, it becomes very much a commodity, and it becomes very much something, it doesn't matter who does it. It's just who's cheapest.
Yep.
But when you look at a niche, you've got someone who owns it. It's not about cheap then. It's about comfort and credibility, and being sure that you've got the right person doing the work that's really important to you. And that comes with a premium. That comes with an easier sales cycle. It comes with people finding you instead of you having to find them. They get to Google and find your name, come up at the top of the list, because your SEO and your language on your website all speaks to it. Like I know I've told this story before, but I have to make a point with it. Like I called my company the CPA Coach. Now I toyed with CPAs Coach, like to make it clear that I work with CPAs and accountants and bookkeepers. I didn't call it the Accountants Coach. And some mornings I wake up and wish I did. But because I named my company the way I did, I come at the top of Google whenever you search coach for CPAs.
Yep.
Without me doing anything other than naming my company. And right. To your point, what you've named your website, I mean, that's easy SEO. In that people can Google that, and guess what pops up, because you've chosen the words you've chosen. There you are.
Yep.
But that's owning it. That's talking about it. Then it's freeing, like it's just easier.
And one thing people are afraid of is that they won't get as many clients because you're niching so hard, but you can still be a generalist. This is simply a marketing message. It has nothing to do with who you serve.
Right.
It's just simply who you're talking to, what your marketing message is and who it's directed at. Steve, the plumber, can still walk in and get your services, even if you're a real estate tax preparer. That's okay. It doesn't
So,
matter.
there's two things. One, when I have someone come to me that's not within my niche, sometimes, not every time, sometimes they'll ask, so it seems like you work mostly with accountants and firm owners and CFOs. I'm like, that is true. You know, about 70% of my business comes from that niche. And then 30% of it, I work with all kinds of individuals in all kinds of spaces because it interests me to work outside of that niche every once in a while. It keeps me sharp. It keeps me a little bit more relevant. It makes me better for my niche because I'm experiencing other people and what they're going through and having in their careers and businesses.
Sure.
And so it keeps me sharp. And so I explain that, and then it's not an issue. Like it's done. Like they don't bring it up and say, you know what, you work too much with CPAs. I can't work with you. I've
Right.
never heard those words. Here's one interesting thing. This did happen. And coaching's a different thing than accounting. So I just want to preempt this next story with that. But I contract with some accounting firms to do some coaching outside of their firm. Like I work with their clients. And I had one guy say, you know what, I think you're too niched. And I need to find someone who doesn't have your experience and doesn't have as much because I want like a fresh take on it. And I thought that, you know, there's very few services where you would say something like that, right? Like, would you go to the knee doctor and he's like, oh, you know what? I do all these knees. I do knees all day long. You're like, you know what? I'd rather have the guy that does the back stuff. Like, he'd probably be better for me than the knee guy.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, really? I'm like, okay. Like, I mean,
Sure.
I'm not gonna argue his point that he believes in or his opinion. But that happened once, and it put me back a little bit, but more in confusion than anything else. And
Right.
accounting is not like that. They're not
No.
going to say, "Oh, you do too much of the construction." I don't want someone who's an expert in my business. Like, no, that doesn't happen.
No, not going to happen.
No. So I mean that's I'd rather have that, you know, than someone say, "Oh, it doesn't seem like you do enough of what I am." Because that does happen a lot. Like, how many clients do you have in construction? I'm not asking you that question, but if you get that question, you say, I've got one or two. And they say, oh, okay, well, I talked to another guy who's got 20. So I'm probably going to go with the guy with 20. Right.
Yep.
And it's not to say that you shouldn't try to pursue that work still, but when you have your niche and when you own it and when you've got a concentration of it, it just, everything afterwards is easier. The sale is easier. The price isn't a conversation. It's just that makes sense. It's just makes it all come together for you. So own your niche is ultimately the message that I would want to make sure is received today.
Yep. You can sell without pitching, which is a nice place to be.
Which is weird. It's like almost uncomfortable because you're like, wait, do I have to like, should I be like selling this? Should I be like bragging about stuff, or did all I have to do was show up?
Yep.
And how nice is that?
Take it any day.
Yeah. So, you know, the process here is first, of course, to identify the niche that you want to pursue. But second of all, once you have like lean into it hard. Like, so, I mean, I don't, you need to get like a tattoo on your forehead with it, but you know, you could get vanity plates. You could put something on your car. You could put definitely something on your website. You could start writing about it on LinkedIn or social media. You could start attending those conferences. You can start speaking about it openly. It could become part of your elevator speech. Like it all of a sudden it becomes what you do. It's not just accounting or bookkeeping or tax prep. It's for a certain somebody.
Yep. Let me throw in one quick tip about conferences.
Yeah.
There are very few accountants that attend industry conferences. We're always the only one. So that is a very low hanging fruit.
Yeah, right.
So,
and plus you get a trip to Vegas out of it or
yeah.
Nashville
Orlando,
or
Vegas, one or the other.
Yeah. Orlando, Vegas. I'm scared to step foot in Vegas. I just had too many bachelor parties in that town. I just get uncomfortable. It's just feel dirty.
I'm over it. You're
it's done. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I kind of want to check out that Sphere thing they got down there now. You've seen
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a buddy.
Put your logo on that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. There you go. You can put the construction bookkeeper on
right.
the spear.
That's right. Done deal.
That's all I got
Awesome,
to say.
man.
Own your niche.
Yep. Love it. See everybody next time.
Thank you for watching this episode of The Practicing Accountant. We hope these real life examples of how niching can help build credibility in your business, attract the right clients, and charge a rate you deserve for your services. Please like and share this episode, and we hope to see you here again at the Practicing Accountant podcast. Thank you for watching.